one of the position groups that's going to go through the most transformation from last season through this offseason is the Bears secondary. When you look at Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Gardner-Johnson, Nahshon Wright, all gone for the Chicago Bears. And while we've brought in a replacement, at least for Kevin Byard so far, the Bears need to really look at their secondary, specifically the safety position. We'll talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to talk about why Coby Bryant could be such an underrated signing by the Chicago Bears. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And we know that the Bears lost a number of players, right? Like Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard. The Bears starting safeties are both gone. Unfortunately, well, depending on how you look at it, right? But one of the people that was the most boisterous in regards to at least wanting to keep Kevin Byard was Ryan Poles. And we do now have a quote from Ryan Poles in regards to losing Kevin Byard in free agency, where he said he said a couple of things that you expect, but he said this. That's what makes this part difficult. You have certain plans. There's guys that you would like to have back, and kind of seeing how the landscape's set up and you do your research. We watched Coby's tape. He was a guy that got us excited because, again, he played our style of ball. He played fast. He played physically. Those are things that Dennis Allen is looking for, that we're looking for. We thought that there was a leadership there. He's young, and we had to adapt to that, and we had an opportunity to bring a really good player in, and that's the decision that we made. So what Ryan Poles is basically laying out here is that it seems like the Bears looked at it as, hey, Coby Bryant is going to be a player that's much better for our scheme, much better for our system. And unfortunately, that means we're going to have to let a guy go like Kevin Byard, who, again, Ryan Poles said on his press conference after the season ended that was a guy that he wanted to keep. And that's what the tough decisions that you have to make sometimes. And that's why, a lot of Bears fans in the comments will know I've said things like, hey, when people said, oh, such and such is a lock to return. And I'm like, you gotta chill on that, right? Like, it's not necessarily true. Like, when you have to improve your team, especially when you're up against the cap like the Bears are. Now, I have no doubt if the Bears had more cap space or more flexibility, like next year they're shaped up to have about $50 million in cap space. If they had that, some of these guys would have come back. But unfortunately, when you're up against it, you have to make tough decisions. That goes into the DJ Moore trade. That goes into letting Jaquan Brisker walk. That goes into letting Kevin Byard walk. And I know people are going to say, well, Haize, Kevin Byard only signed for X. Nahshon Wright only signed for X amount of money. Yeah, but it's not just about that. Keep in mind, even with the moves that the Bears have done now, they still find themselves $5 million almost above the salary cap. So that means that they're going to have to create even more space just to sign, their rookies, right? The rookies that they're going to draft. So, that's the tough decisions that you have to make. And because you have to look at not only the present but the future, right? Which is something that I always say when I say things like fan brain, I mean that fans can be very much in the now, right? Fans can be very much in the, we can't let this player go because of the X. But whereas GMs and people who actually run teams, they have to look at it not just by the now, but the future. They have to look at the money. They have to look at what players that they may want to keep, right? So, that's the thing. We knew coming into this offseason that the Bears wanted to get younger. They wanted to get faster, right? Now, we didn't expect that to mean that so many of the vets were going to have to go. But, guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson, we knew probably weren't going to be back. Guys like Nahshon Wright, we knew probably weren't going to be back for this team, right? And that's just the reality of what you have to do. And that's now going to shape up this defense and have to take a little bit of a different turn. We'll get more on that on a second, right? But I think the Bears still have to fill the position opposite of Coby Bryant, which is fine there, right? And that's going to have to come in the 2026 draft. Me and the guys had an episode yesterday where we talked about how Ryan Poles' free agency moves have really set this team up to need to make a splash. They're going to have to find 2 or 3 starters in the NFL draft this year, right? And that's just the reality of it, man. But when you look at the Bears and the position right now that really is kind of overarchingly haunting them, it's the safety position. Like when you look at it this way, right? The Chicago Bears defense led the league in 33 takeaways. 33 takeaways. That we led the league in that. 18 of those takeaways. 18 interceptions last year came from Nahshon Wright, Tremaine Edmonds, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And Kevin Byard too. 18 of those came in from those guys. All those guys are gone now. All those guys are gone. So the Bears' defensive identity is going to have to be more functional this year. And I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I want to be clear. I do not think that's necessarily a wrong thing. Takeaways are great, right? And it was the Bears' identity. And to the credit of the Bears and the defense, there were times last season where people said things like, well, you can't rely on takeaways. You can't rely on just that. You need more than that. And they're right. I want to be clear. Those people are right. But for what it's worth, the Bears continually show that they got takeaways in the right moments. But there were so many times last year where the performance of the offense did get taken away some by the defense's inability to get stops. The Chicago Bears defense was ranked 29th last year, right? So despite leading the league in takeaways, our defense functionally still wasn't good, right? And I think that what we're seeing from the Bears now is that they are trying to make the moves that put this team in a position where the defense doesn't have to rely on takeaways to be great. Now, we still have to put pressure on the quarterback. We still have to do all those type of things. And that goes to what I said before about, how Ryan Poles has put a really big, target on the draft to find key starters, right? Now, you look at it. Where does he have, specifically on the defensive side of the ball? We already know we need to find another starting caliber safety, right? Because right now, our projected starting strong safety is Cam Lewis. And Cam Lewis isn't just a safety, and it takes away from some of what he's going to do, and we'll get more on that in a second, but Cam Lewis, right? And so, no, that's not going to be there, but you have to find another starting safety. That's there. You have to bring in another edge. Even if the Bears do think that Austin Booker is ready to make a huge leap, you still need another defensive end and maybe another defensive tackle. Now, we talked about this a little bit on yesterday's live stream as well. With the Bears finding a defensive tackle, will they? They got Grady Jarrett. They got Javon Dexter. They got Shamar Turner, the rookie who did not play really much at all last year. We already re-signed Neville Gallimore. And then you got both Contavious Street and Dayo Odeyingbo who can play on the interior and on the edge, right? So if the Bears don't go defensive tackle, I wouldn't necessarily be as surprised by it. But even if you feel like Austin Booker's a starting caliber and ready to play starting caliber edge, I think you still need to bring in another edge for depth in the draft and maybe even another starting caliber edge, whereas Austin Booker maybe eventually takes over for Montez Sweat when he leaves, right? So you have to look at that type of thing also in this, right? So that's another one. I still think linebacker still needs to be addressed again. Now, you re-signed DeMarco Jackson. Good. I like that. You still have Noah Sewell in here, but again, he's going to be injured. You got TJ Edwards going to be injured at the start of the season. You brought in Devin Bush. You guys know I'm really high on Devin Bush. I like Devin Bush as this team. I think the one thing that also saves the Chicago Bears team is that Dennis Allen doesn't run a traditional linebacker set. He either drops a defensive lineman. He sometimes put a cornerback, some in there at linebacker to kind of schematically get things all over the place in a good way. But you have that. Now, the cornerback, I know I said that we lost a lot of depth in the secondary, but we lost a lot last year due to injury. So you got Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson. You got Zay Frazier, who's hopefully going to come in here and be ready to go because Dennis Allen was really excited about him. You got Terrell Smith as well, who shared that starting spot with Tyreek Stevenson the years before last year with him being out. And then you also did bring in Cam Lewis, who's going to be one of the guys that come in and do all types of things for the team, play multiple positions. So the Bears have a lot of flexibility with the cornerbacks, and I think they'll be fine there overall. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe they draft another one in the later rounds, but I think we have other things that we need to do there. But you're looking at the Bears needing some key pieces, right? And that puts it in the draft. But again, I know that for some Bears fans, it's all about the name, right? And, I say that's more of a casual take, but it is what it is, however you want to look at it. But for some Bears fans, it's about the name. And it's not about that for me. It's about, can you go out there and get a guy? I'd rather go out there and get a guy that can become the next name than go out there and chase names, especially with where the Bears are financially right now. And it comes down, and I don't want to hear nothing. This is one of the stupidest arguments that people make is like, oh, you want to rely on a rookie? And it's like, did you not see how rookies literally were the lifeblood? Like we talked about so long last season, how trust your rookies, right? I said that probably around week 3 for the Chicago Bears. Trust your rookies. And then as we started seeing the rookies trust, we started seeing the offense rise and start being one of the top 10 offenses. So rookies can absolutely help and make an impact right away. And the fact that and I'm not saying that has to be you have to replicate that one for one as far as having 3 rookies that make an impact right away, but let's not act like they can't make impacts right away. They absolutely can. And that's the most cost-effective thing. That goes back to fan brain over realistic, thinking about building a football team. You want young presences. You want young players to be parts of your building blocks because that also helps you keep costs down. It helps you stay cost effective, and it helps you not have to cut players that we actually like we had to see done this season for the Chicago Bears. And so that's just the reality of, again, building a team, and that's where it comes. So when you look at this team, where's the improvement going to come from? And that's what you have to ask yourself, right? Is where's the improvement going to come from? Kevin Byard, gone. Nahshon Wright, gone. Tremaine Edmonds, gone. Gardner-Johnson, gone, right? These guys are gone. And these were guys that were big parts of the Chicago Bears' identity. Jaquan Brisker, one of Ryan Poles' first draft picks, gone. So you now have to have new crops. Now, I've seen comments from some people. It's like, oh, well, you lost 6 starters. You're automatically going to lose the North again. Some of y'all said the same thing about us having a first-year head coach, that we were going to naturally take a step back from a first-year head coach. It's about how you build the team, the vision that you have for the players that you bring in, and how you then can supplement all that, right? And that goes to one of the things I want to talk about as well. I said I wanted to talk about an underrated signing for the Chicago Bears, and Cam Lewis is the guy that I think could be a really big underrated signing for the Chicago Bears. You look at Cam Lewis and how he's going to be able to free up, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. The versatility that he has and the way that he can line up in the positions that he can play, it adds versatility in how you can use Coby Bryant. It adds versatility in how you can use Kyler Gordon. It adds versatility in how you can use Devin Bush with his speed or dropping him back in coverage. And that's the thing. What I hope that we see next year, and again, I'm just going off kind of where it seems like things are directed. We won't know for sure until we get more defensive players in here in the draft. But what it seems like it's going to be right now, right, is that this Bears team schematically is going to be able to do things that causes offenses to really think. When you think about the fact that you can line up Cam Lewis at the cornerback or at the nickel or even at the linebacker, or that frees you up to use Kyler Gordon all over the place, or a player like Coby Bryant that you use inside the box, outside the box. Having somebody like Cam Lewis, and I don't want to put too much pressure on it, but both Cam Lewis and Zay Frazier, 2 guys that under Dennis Allen's system and scheme can be used in a multitude of ways. That is where you start getting into the chess match that is football, the chess match that is coaching, and you force offenses to think, and that's one of the most important things. Now, we got to improve our pass rush. The pass rush and the pass coverage go hand in hand. When you have a solid pass rush, it means your corners hopefully don't have to hold their guards enough, right? When you have a solid pass coverage, it gives your defensive line more time to get to the quarterback because those wide receivers aren't getting open. It has to go hand in hand. But in having the versatility and having Devin Bush with his speed, you can have him come around the outside. Having players like Kyler Gordon where you can line up as a linebacker, or you can drop him back in coverage, or make teams think he's going to run blitz like he's been known to do. Those are all things that make this game interesting. And as somebody who is an X's and O's guys and loves that aspect of the game of football, I really think we're really going to get into Dennis Allen football this season. And the framework of that is based off what you can already see how the Bears have prioritized positional versatility as well as speed. And if they continue to do that in the draft as well, I'm telling you right now, we could see a defense this season that, fuck the takeaways, that actually schematically is going to be able to do some stuff to us. And we're going to see offenses confused trying to figure out what coverages and what looks the Bears are actually about to throw at them. And that is the part where you can start defining and creating some separation. And so we'll see what that is. Now, you have to have the talent, and then you have to have the plan for that talent. I trust Dennis Allen to have the plan. Now we got to go out there and finish solidifying it by getting the talent that we need in here, that starter caliber on that defensive side, to really get us to where we need to be. And if the Bears do that, listen, it's going to be fun. I'm a defensive guy first, right? I want to be clear here. Y'all know I love when the Bears defense is great. I think there's something to be said about how you can demoralize a team by having a great defense that makes the opposing offense hard to score on, right? And so we had the bend but don't break mentality. But this season, I want to see the Bears break some offenses. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see the defense bend or break. I want to see how much we can break the psyche and the mind of offenses. Now, we're not going to have as hard of a schedule. As easy of a schedule as we had last year. So that means that we're going to have to be better prepared for it. And I think that's also what you see some of this team doing. You're not going to sneak up on anybody anymore. That's not going to be the case for the Chicago Bears. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. People are now looking at you and they're targeting you. And now what do you do with that? That next stage in that evolution is hugely important to all of this. And we'll see. We shall see what's going to happen with this one again. I like what it looks like we can do. There's a lot of players in the draft that are a reason to believe that can come in here and help this team. Let's just see if it actually happens and come into fruition, because if it does, then we're actually looking at a team that's going to make some fucking noise. And that's what we all should want to see, is this Bears team thrive and not just survive. Let's get that done on defense. With that said, based off the first week of free agency, I want to come away with the winners and losers from the first week of free agency on this Bears team. The first one is Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles cooked up again. I continue in situations like this. I get it. The fans wanted Max Crosby. They wanted Trey Hendrickson. But what Poles did was more functional. He added quality depth. And he also went out and found some starters. You got Coby Bryant. You got Devin Bush. Those are upgrades for the Chicago Bears at their positions. You brought in Jedrick Willis, who, you know, if he gets back to what he was before, I know he explained why he sat out with injury. That could end up being a steal in free agency for the Chicago Bears. But then you start looking at some of the depth signings that the Bears had. And that, again, things are won with depth. You need depth to make it through the grueling 17-game season and through the playoffs. We've seen that. We saw how important that was last year. We had to go out and sign guys like Gardner-Johnson to help provide some depth. The Bears should have some depth at some key positions this year, and I love what they're having in that. They still got to find a center of the future. You know, still got the left tackle battle is going to be very interesting. Would not be surprised if Jedrick Willis comes away with the starting tackle position. But Ryan Poles, in the way that he crafted the first week of free agency and now has set himself up in a draft that is deep at basically the positions that we do need, have set himself up pretty well, right? One of the other winners in this one, it has to be Braxton Jones. Like, people didn't expect Braxton Jones to come back. And for him to come back on a $5 million deal that can get up to $10 million with incentives for one more year at a time where he is going to have another opportunity to see if he can win the starting tackle position. I don't know if he'll come out with that, but we'll see if he does. Is that Braxton Jones got himself to set a chance to set himself up better for free agency next year. Whether he ends up being a depth tackle, really go out and attack that. But he went out, he got himself some money. He has incentives to get him up to $10 million, and we'll see if he ends up hitting on that. But that's Braxton Jones. I think that he was a winner as well by getting that deal. Now, the Bears are a winner for re-signing him. We'll end up seeing in that one. Coby Bryant. Coby Bryant, listen, he goes from winning a Super Bowl with the Seahawks to getting a really nice payday with the Chicago Bears. 3 years, $40 million deal. He's the highest paid free agent that the Chicago Bears have signed so far. You get some youth and experience in that secondary, and like Ryan Poles said, schematically, for what he's coming into with Dennis Allen's scheme, he fits that scheme perfectly fine. So Coby Bryant is definitely a winner of free agency so far for the Chicago Bears, absolutely. And then you get into some of the losers here. One of the ones that I do want to point out as well is that, you know, Dennis Allen's secondary right now. And now I think it's going to end up turning into a win. We got Coby Bryant. I think that we're going to get solid next year. But as it stands right now, we're still at a hole. You lost both your starting safeties. And so now you have to prove that the guys that you're bringing in to replace that are going to be able to replace the production that you're getting out of those guys. And we'll see. But the secondary, it lost Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Nahshon Wright, Gardner-Johnson, Jonathan Owens. Like, we lost a lot of guys in that secondary. And the secondaries was such a huge part of it. And we've talked about how Dennis Allen's system is predicated on the versatility in the secondary. So we'll see. You know, we'll have to go out and prove it on the football field. But that's definitely one as well. And then I think overall, too, like, for the Bears fans that were so convinced that there was no chance that DJ Moore was going to leave, that's also been a hit, right? Like, it's unfortunate. Like, DJ Moore went to a great situation. And Ryan Poles, once again, it seems like not only does he think about taking care of his guys that he sends out, you know, as well as that, like, as well as thinking about the future of the team and stuff like that. So I'm not playing a violin for DJ Moore. He's going to a great situation with a great quarterback, and they're gonna be Super Bowl contenders hopefully this year, right? But for what it's worth is that, you know, we had a time, and I've said this too, even when I was talking about the chances that DJ Moore could be moved, I said multiple times that, you know, I would love to operate from a place of abundance at talent at a position. And as of right now, we took a hit on that in the wide receiver core. Now I think we still have tons of talent there. Rome Odunze, Luther Burden have shown themselves to be extremely talented. Jahade Walker's going to get an opportunity here, right? Colston Loveland is I know he's a tight end, but he's extremely talented as a receiver as well. He's going to get an opportunity to line up as a slot. And we'll see what the Bears do in the draft. I would not be surprised if fourth round we end up drafting a wide receiver there, more of a speedster. I wouldn't be surprised with that. But I think just overall, like, it right now, it did take a hit talent-wise. We took a hit talent-wise. Losing DJ Moore is a hit talent-wise to you. Now, that does not mean that the players that we have can't collectively overcome that talent hit, but it was a talent hit nonetheless. But it puts even more pressure and identity on this Bears team to figure it out with what they have. Caleb Williams to take a leap, and Rome and Luther Burton to continue to make progress and steps. And we'll see if they can make those steps. But overall, free agency has still been overly solid for the Chicago Bears. I don't look at it as a negative in any shape, form, or fashion. Now we just got to go out and see what's going to happen here. But that's going to wrap it up for today's episode, y'all. The Bears secondary is going to look dramatically different this next offseason. And now we have to shift towards the 2026 NFL draft to see what Ryan Poles can get done. It's clear that he believes in this team. And we'll see how many more problems he can solve in the NFL draft. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Should the Bears draft a safety early, or should they sign a veteran before the season starts? Let me know that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.